feel like an old lady. It is running, isn't it? Yeah. Hello and welcome to part 10 of the Prado Dolls House series. The weather's been absolutely glorious here in Scotland, so I admit I've been outside. I haven't done as much Dolls House work as I should. Before we turn the camera around and have a look at this episode, I did just want to do a little plug for my Facebook page, and I will put a link below. I make and sell little cushions. Ooh, there's one. I'm actually running the business down now a bit because it's been going for a while, and I'm fed up with making little cushions. So there are a few hundred for sale on there at the moment, and they'll be on there exclusively for the next week. So if you'd like to have a look and see what's available, please do request to join. You do have to request to join and fill in the membership questions just to so we don't have to get bothered by the bots. I've also got other things other than cushions, a few other little bits, little dresses. Made a few little dresses, and I will also be sorting out and selling some craft materials later on in the next few weeks as well. Just trying to thin down my enormous stash, especially of wood. I seem to have an awful lot of wood bits. Anyway, that's the plug. Emma's Dolls House on Facebook, and I will now turn the camera around and we'll have a look at the episode. Right, so I've taken the nasty crinkly wrapping off, and we have two of these weird moulding bits and another piece of wood. So I'll put those to one side. We have the magazine, which we'll look at the moment. Mouldings and skirting board left. Oh, so it actually looks like we're going to get to build the floor and the walls here. So that's the destructions. The normal place of regular order. Oh, that's a bit that should have been on the front. Mouldings and left skirting board. A bit more of this nasty wallpaper. And another cover for a notebook in my case. Right, so let's go back to the magazine. Let's just see if I can move some of these distracting pieces of paper out the way. It's all my inspiration for my Frida Kahlo stuff. That is the distractions for the chairs that I haven't put in the right place. Dear me. I'm not the tidiest person. Sorry about this. Oh, it's all going horribly wrong. There we go. That's better, isn't it? That's much better. Before we start, actually, I wanted to show you this. This is a cabinet that was in Frida Kahlo's bedroom. And as you know, if you've been watching this series, my house, Frida Prado House, is going to be a kind of Mexican Frida Kahlo inspired house. It's a present for a friend. And this cabinet, it's on Pinterest, and it shows that she collected miniatures and doll's house things. You won't be able to see it on this picture, unfortunately, but that there is a tiny toilet. There's lots of miniature dolls and other interesting things. I will try and see if I can put a link up on the description. But yeah, I'm reading it. I've read a book about her life, and I knew that she did collect miniatures, so I kind of went on a search and see if I could find any pictures of the things she had, and this is what I came up with. So at some point, I think it'd be quite fun to try and maybe make a few little bits for her for the bedroom, sort of miniature, I suppose, 1/44 scale pieces, and kind of replicate some of this. But there you go. something I didn't know about Frida Kahlo before I started. She's actually quite current at the moment as well, because there's going to be an exhibition in London of her work. So I'm doing a trendy thing without realising it. Okay, so this is the magazine. We're starting off with the Playmobil people. They were designed by Hans Beck, who was influenced by children's drawings of people. Another interesting fact. Okay, the features were moulded and not painted on, so they will not rub off, and they were designed to have no movable parts, no mechanical parts, I beg your pardon, and no sharp edges, so they're safe for young children. I haven't seen him ever. But then I haven't really kind of looked into Playmobil a big deal. And now we're on to the next bit. Unusual dolls' houses. We've got some Canadian doll's house, made in the 1870s. The attic contains paper scrap figures and artificial flowers. Oh, that's a bit creepy actually, isn't it? I think there's something a bit creepy about that. Those houses can be creepy, let's face it. What have we got here? Oh, Barbie's mobile home. I was a Cindy girl myself. I suppose they are dolls' houses because they're dolls and they're a house, but I don't know. I'm not a 1/6 person fan really. I prefer 1/12. Oh, this is English, made by a Devonshire sea captain. That's a thing about so I've heard dolls' houses and miniaturists be described as a jailhouse hobby, and I sometimes think when people are in constricted places, that's when their world can kind of literally shrink a bit. So boats and jail, ships in bottles comes to mind, doesn't it? Knitting is the other one, although that's not really a shrinkable thing. But yeah, I think actually people start working with their hands with what they've got available, and miniatures are kind of accessible in those kind of environments, aren't they? I know, I got into miniatures after I had an operation that went wrong and I couldn't really move about. So yeah, the jailhouse hobby thing rings a bell with me. Oh, it looks like it says, as well as the name above the door and the date over the attic window, a newspaper cutting announcing the birth at Mount Pleasant Road, Brixham. I used to live in Torquay in Brixham. Wife of Henry Hall, master mariner of a daughter, is pasted in the attic. So he's pasted the announcement of the birth of his daughter in the attic, but it says they don't know the name of the daughter. That's quite nice. He made it for his daughter. Oh, a weaver's house. English design made by Jane Blythe, circa 1970. That's really quite... I've never seen anything like that before. Oh, look, it's even got a little loom there. Wow. Like many dolls' house people, I have other hobbies, and I do actually have a weaving loom. And as I said in the introduction, I'm more or less giving up my dolls' house cushion making because I really want to get back into my lifestyle, my life size weaving. So that's really, I don't know, there's something very pleasing about that. To me, anyway. Mobile homes. A lady that I know in the dolls' house world is at the moment making a little caravan. So I know a lot of people who make those kind of sort of covered wagons, the Romany style things. Oh, that's a houseboat. That's an unusual one. This is a thin episode. Half of the Japanese house. Shipped to England in 1952. It's rare even in Japan, and it's possible it was made as a special commission. It is an authentic replica of a 19th century Japanese dwelling, with wooden sliding screens, external bathhouse and room furnishings. Rooms in Japanese houses are measured by the number of mats needed to cover the floor. For example, the upper rooms in this house are 6 mat size, whereas the lower room is 8 mat size. Well, I presume they must have a standard mat size then, otherwise that's going to get a recipe for confusion if not. So we only have half of that house at the moment, and the other half of it must appear in the next episode. So looking forward to seeing that actually. It's quite... I love these all wood facades. It's lovely, isn't it? Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I think, with these bits, they look like they fit into the wall and along the bottom there. Oh no, that's not that, is it? Oh, it goes along there. I see. That's confusing because that's just a bare wood, but it looks exactly like this piece of wood. I think I shall prime these and give them a coat of white emulsion, and then come back to you when we're ready to assemble it. Right, so what I've done is I've got the debris that came with the part 10, the mouldings and what they call the skirting board. I've got the left wall of the kitchen hallway. This is the hallway side. There is a great big blob of orange where there shouldn't be, but that's going to be behind the stairs, so I think we can possibly walk away from that whistling. If not, I can always touch it up later. I mean, there is another patch there, but there's going to be a lot of pictures on the wall as well, so we'll see what it looks like when it's actually together and make a decision on those mistakes later. We've got the floor, and we've got the other side of the kitchen wall, and that's the outside of the house, which I've just primed. So now then, let us see what we have to do. Check the adjustment of the corner mouldings with the side wall that you already have. Note the moulding should reach the lower part of the side wall. Apply white glue to the inside of the groove of one of the mouldings. Finally fit the side wall and let it dry. Oh, okay. So we've basically got to put these onto here and then let them dry. Now there are 2 ways that these go, aren't there? So we need to... I actually realised that there was an orientation to these things. Okay, so if that's going to have one sticking up and be stuck in, it's going to have to be that way. But that's the kitchen wall, so that needs to go the other way, and then it needs to go on like that, so that the back of it is facing outwards. Yeah, that would seem to be it. Okay, so now I've got to put some glue in this bit here. Sorry, I hope I'm in shot. Concentrating and being in shot are not my finer... It's not part of my skill set. Right, can I get glue in there? This is just normal wood glue I'm using. Whoops, sorry. I might actually put some glue on the edge of the thing as well. About braces and all that. So, is that hanging over? Yes, that's hanging. That lining paper is just slightly hanging over there. So I'm going to just trim that down a bit. Which means I'm going to cut through my wax paper because I didn't think about that. Just get it flush with the wall of the house if I can. That's it. Right, I'm going to put some glue on this edge. It does dry clear, this glue, so it should be okay. Right. Okay. I can't see where I put the glue there. There it is. It should just slot in. It's quite a tight fit. I think I may have to sand it because it's not going to fit in there. Maybe that's, is it? Yeah, that's the right way. Maybe because I've painted these things. Let's try and slide it in. Oh. Right, so I turned the camera off while I was doing this because the swearing would not have probably would not have been allowed on YouTube. I don't know, but getting these bits mouldings into this wall was incredibly difficult. I thought it may have been that because I put lining paper and then painted, it was just too thick and they were very snug fit. But the other bit that I've done exactly the same worked fine, so I'm really not sure. I have some spares, so I got a spare bit of moulding that wasn't painted because I thought, well, maybe the painters on the moulding has made it too narrow, and I tried that. That didn't work, so I then had to shave bits off the if you can see, my lovely paint job is now ruined for because I had to shave the lining paper and a bit of the wood off in order to get the mouldings to fit. And even again with these newer unpainted ones, they wouldn't fit on. So I've now massacred that edge and on both sides. That's a better shot. And I tried to use my new clamp thing, but I couldn't work out how to use it, so I need to, that's it there. Have a look at the instructions on that. So I've just used masking tape, painter's tape, to hold it together while it dries. I'm hot and bothered, and I really hope that we don't have much more of this, but sadly I suspect we might. So I'm just going to have to get used to it and problem solve as we go along. Once this is dry, I will go back over the edges and the paint job. I don't think I'm going to paint these wooden bits again, and next time I do a wall with lining paper, I shall leave a margin around it until I've got the mouldings on. But yes, learn from my mistakes, everybody. Once that's dry, I'll come back and see if we can get this thing resembling the kitchen. It may take some time, I think. Lord. I'm filming this while holding the phone, so it may be a bit shaky, but I thought it was one of the only ways to show you the construction so far. So the side wall is now glued to the floor, which is kind of floating were it not for the fact that it's got two books holding it up. I'm using my brass thing to make sure that it's square, and then a tub of varnish to keep it upright. As I've said before, the kind of modular construction of this thing does not lend itself to stability, really. The floor concerns me somewhat. The only thing that's going to support it, apart from these sticks, is going to be the skirting board, which apparently you slot in here, along here. I don't think that's enough. It seems to be that on the instructions goes along is level with that, but if I do that, I'm going to have a gap. So I don't think that's going to happen. It's going to have to go up a bit. In which case it's not going to support the floor. So I think I'm going to have to put some things underneath this when it's a bit more stable to just support it more. Yeah. We'll just leave this to dry now and move on. Hope for the best. Right, this is still the same floor and still the same piece of kitchen wall. It would not stay stuck and it would not stay straight, and this seems to be everybody's experience of this house from what I've looked up, from people swearing occasionally to people very genteelly saying I was unable to get the pieces to fit very easily. So let's go with that. The pieces do not fit very easily. Now, I've made other houses that have had similar reviews, the green leaf houses, and I've never felt quite so frustrated as I do at the moment. So we're only on the first part of the build. I have braced this floor and absolutely slathered it, as they say in Scotland, in glue along that edge. Now the floor is still not quite straight, but frankly it's an old house and old houses are a bit wonky. I've braced that corner there and I have braced the skirting board bit. When I get the other wall in, the walls, I will go diagonally across with a brace and then into a corner, I think, or into another piece of the wall here maybe, because that is a huge expanse of wood with not much holding it up. And I think what I'm going to do now is leave this video of the floor and the wall, because it does say that you're meant to stick the other edge in, the edge with the door, this bit here, and then slide the back in. But I have absolutely no confidence that the back will slide in if I do that. So I'm going to wait until I have the back bit, slide that in and dry fit it first, because I've had to gouge out, I don't know if you can see these little grooves here. I've had to gouge them out with a craft knife. And that is actually meant to be utterly flush, and it's not. so that's going to may cause issues. But yeah, at one point I did actually think about just giving up with the house, and I have got another kit for a MDF Willow Cottage, I think it is, and just using that. But I don't know, I like a challenge, and I think I'll keep going. And I think as long as I keep bracing things and reinforcing things, and also I'm going to put it on a base, which is another thing that has been suggested, then it will be all right in the end. So these are my tips for the Del Prado house construction so far. If you have a bottle of wine, that's helpful. It might possibly be worth getting into some kind of other recreational drug, I don't know, but be prepared to be frustrated, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching, and please do press the subscribe button if you haven't. Now up to 41 subscribers, which I'm really happy about, actually. So thanks again, and see you next time.